Okay, we're here with Karo Parisyan. It's March 18th. Karo, you have a fight coming up on the 31st in El Paso, Texas, against another UFC veteran, the Wildman Denny. What's going on? How are you getting ready for this fight?
I'm getting ready. Obviously, everything boils down to training for me. I've been training for the fight. Like I've always said, I've never really trained to my potential. A lot of people have said you're way better than what you do, what you represent in the cage during the fights. But at the time being, I'm trying to, because in the last 2-3 years, I was never really, my heart was not into fighting, as people saw. At the time being, I'm trying to bring that old Karo back. Basically, change this into a lifestyle, not a sport. It's a sport, but I'm trying to make it into a lifestyle, not a job. Nobody really likes the job. But at the same time, I'm trying to make it into a lifestyle to come back. I am training for the fight, and I feel pretty good and confident for this fight, actually.
Speaking of which, your preparation, I've heard that you've kind of gotten back to your roots with Judo, where you trained, who you trained with. You want to touch upon that a little bit?
Yeah, I left HyeFighter team, which the Parisyan was, my coach. It's always been my coach, but I left for 6 years. It was ups and downs. We had differences. At the time being, about 10 months ago, I talked to Goku. A lot of guys were like, come by, talk, Goku wants to talk to you. Not one, two, about 10 of my old training partners. So, about 10 months ago, I came back, I talked to him, nothing major. We settled our differences, and, I'm back, and, I'm back to my old roots, training, doing what I have to do. And, so far it's going well. We'll see where it leads to.
Well, it's good to hear you're back to your roots, and hopefully that will put you on the path to go, to have the old Karo back and actually have a better Karo back. Obviously you don't want to be where you were. You want to be in a place that you were better from. With that in mind, you've always been the person that is kind of credited with bringing Judo into MMA in terms of making it useful. Although there were a lot of other guys that had Judo backgrounds, but I think when they talk MMA style Judo, your name comes up. Question about that is, when you're in a fight, are you always thinking about how you're going to use your Judo, or is that more of a reactionary thing, or how does that come about to play in your game plan when you're in the cage?
I never think about a throw. I never think about anything during the fight. If the only thing I think during about the fight is, I want to win this fight, I don't want to lose this fight, or stuff like that. So many times in the cage, it's going to sound weird and bizarre to whoever watches this interview, but I've actually made friends with death so many times in that cage. Meaning, like, I will die before I lose this fight. So I never think about my throws. My throws naturally come. It's like, it's like second nature. It's a reaction. It comes down to a feel. Because it's pretty hard to launch a grown man, muscles bigger than his head, third round, all slippery, off his feet and dump him on his head, or wherever I'm supposed to throw him in. And these people actually know the throw is going to come, but they can't stop it. So thank God I've been able to use my Judo and unorthodox submissions to my advantage in the sport, in the UFC, or anywhere I fought. So to answer your question, I never think about it. It naturally comes. It's like second nature for me. If I don't do Judo for 10 years from now, I can still throw my opponents, whenever I fight or however the fight goes.
Okay, so you're in the cage, punches are coming, and you're just doing what comes naturally, getting out of the way of the punch, trying to throw the person, and just do what you do best, which is the Judo throws. Now, speaking of Judo throws, are you still practicing the Judo in terms of your preparation for the fight, or you're just doing the grappling, or how are you getting ready for fights nowadays, Karo?
It's an interesting question. Training-wise for fights these days, not 3 years ago, these days, like I said, I'm trying to make training into a lifestyle, not a job. So basically, that being said, I'm training. My natural roots are Judo, takedowns, ground and pound, and of course submissions. So I'm trying to fall back to my old roots, not to get out there and start punching and kicking with a guy that can take my head off, but standing somebody else and trade punches with, which I can't, and I've done. I can name fights where the guy was supposed to knock me out, and I actually beat them in their own game, which was stand-up, kickboxing, and etc. But at the time being, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at what I was doing, how I was known. It was because of my submissions and obviously my throws. So trying to bring that back. Listen, you know, I don't want to talk about myself or say, oh, I'm this and that. But the truth and the reality is I was able to do that. And I think I was the only one that was able to do that kind of throws and submissions in the fight game. Not just UFC or wherever I fought. In the fight game. I'm trying to bring that back. I'm trying to bring that Karo back. What I did, how I did it, and how I'm going to do it.
Great. Now, last few years have been, you know, yeah, right? I mean, you know, we always want to look forward, but I think the past for you, especially for you, has been something that has kind of molded you into the kind of person you are today. You've been through ups, you've been through downs, you've seen good times, you've seen bad times, you've seen people come, you've seen people go. How has that changed you as a person? As how you, what your outlook is on life now. I mean, you know, everybody wants to know about Karo the person, because we all know what Karo the fighter is capable of in the cage, what he has done, what he can do. But as a person, you're still kind of mysterious in terms of, you know, what you've been through, and I'm sure that has to have played some kind of, you know, emotional roller coaster for you in your life. Want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Excuse me. Usually, it's very easy to be judged. People judge fighters, athletes, whoever you are, in a blink of an eye. People started thinking I'm a bad person after that incident that happened on the season 5 of the Ultimate Fighter 5 on the finale or whatever it was going on. But people don't know who really I am. I mean, I might come out as this cocky, you know, arrogant douchebag like some people might think and say. Hopefully you don't say it to my face because you'll have a funeral in your hand. But besides that is, I've coped with a lot of ups and downs. I thought people and friends and all these family that was supposed to be next to me, they weren't. You know, these people know who they are. You know, you don't abandon a friend, a family member, not my family, immediate family, just cousins and etc. You don't abandon people just because they were up here, now they're down here. You know, I'll always have my significant name of what I've done in the sport or who I am. But you know, it's an up and down, it's a roller coaster just like what life is. I recognize these days what goes on. Who I should trust, who I should not trust. God willing, if and when actually I come back and do what I have to do in the sport as far as making my mark again, I think I'll be smarter, more experienced. I've seen stuff people can't even imagine. I've seen a lot of heartache, you know, and it's a normal thing. It goes up and down, like I said. It's not about getting a big head or being cocky or etc. It's just about, you know, everything comes with the territory. It's a package. You make a name for yourself. You do this, you do that. People are always going to talk about it. You're always going to be in somewhat of the limelight. But you have to recognize and understand who's next to you that should be next to you and who's not. At the time being, I never really understood what was going on until I slept and fell. And I was expecting somebody to give me a hand to pick me back up on experience. And people actually walked over me and just passed by me, which is fine. That being said, man, I'm not going to make the same mistakes again. With the people, in the career, or what I've done to dig the hole that I'm in, myself, you know? And that being said, man, people have to understand I'm just a normal person just like anybody else. You know, you get up, you pick up your briefcase or your pen or your backpack and you go to work or school. I wake up in the morning and my job is to train, fight, and be an athlete. People, oh, it's stupid sport, it's this sport, it's very brutal. Yeah, the nature of the sport is brutal and it's disgusting somewhat. But at the same time, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as a sport. It's a normal sport. I do what I have to do. You do what you have to do. With your briefcase, I have to do with my gloves. So don't judge me for what I do as far as a fighter. It doesn't define who I am. Okay, people, you know me. I've been judged as Karo Parisyan, the fighter. Not too many people know me. If for 5 seconds you can judge me off TV because if you saw something, oh, he's a douchebag. No, I'm not. You don't know who I am, what I've been through. You know. That being said, I recognize what's going on these days, man. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be good.
Well, you know, that it's funny you bring that up because high-level athletes or successful people are, you know, the kind that have the kind of almost an obsessive type personality where you play hard and you work hard.
Of course.
Speaking of playing hard, you know, there's always been the talk about you playing really hard when you're not in the cage. And, you know, not to sound too brash, but I have seen you out at clubs, nightclubs with, you know, the hottest women around in your arms, and, you know, you're hanging out, you're doing your thing, partying, just having a good time with everybody else. Is that still going on?
Listen, man, I think, like I said, everything comes with the package. You know, the urges sometimes is so hard. I mean, if you commit to a certain person or whatever you do in your life, you commit to it, but you have to understand, man, sometimes you slip. And when you slip, there's always someone there to catch a picture of it, say something because of it. So it's almost, you have to, everything you do, everywhere you go, you always have to be careful of what the hell's going on, who's watching me, who's doing what. It's just not a way to live. You can't be yourself. Sometimes I'm like, I wish people didn't recognize who I was. I was just this normal guy. But these days, that'll always happen, man. You know, it's always going to be there. Not that I'm saying if I commit to one girl or one person, I'm going to cheat on her and stuff or whatever. But it comes with the package, and that's always going to be there. If I have gorgeous women around, it doesn't mean I'm sleeping with these women, you know. And I've said if I have a girlfriend or a wife or what I'm doing with them, hey, listen, if you don't, you know, if you think twice about me about that stuff, you don't have to be with me. I'm in the lifestyle and in the kind of a sport entertainment business that's always going to happen. If I have women around me that are pretty, that doesn't mean I'm going to be doing this stuff. Hey, I can, like this. And I've done more than I can count. But besides that, don't judge me based off that, you know. At the end of the day, I'm a guy and I'm a normal person just like anybody else.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as normal. I mean, you have a little more abilities than some of the normal guys around, especially with what you were capable of when you put those gloves on.
Thank you for the compliment, my buddy.
Well, you know, I mean, it's true. I wouldn't want to mess with you no matter what. But I'm not a fighter, and you know, to be a fighter, to be a high-level athlete, you have to have a certain type of a mentality. And I completely understand the fact that, you know, the more you are in the limelight, the more under a microscope you become. And, you know, this digital age, everybody's got a phone that can take a picture.
Sure.
You know, you're up on Facebook, you're up on Twitter within an instant. And I've seen that happen.
TMZ before, man. I've seen clips and sayings on TMZ, which I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. I mean, come on.
Speaking of which, I got a message on Twitter. Some of your fans want you to get on Twitter and start, you know, putting in your...
I have Twitter, I just don't even get on it.
Well, I think some of your fans are asking for it, so I thought I'd bring that up too.
No problem, I will. As anything for the fans. I'll do anything for my fans. Not anything, but something in reasonable limits. But at the same time, I have a Twitter account. I have a lot of followers, apparently. I just...
You don't tweet as much, huh?
I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know how to do it. I swear to God.
Well, we'll show you before you leave here today. How's that?
Thank you. That's fine. I'll take that offer up on you, bro.
You got it, man. So basically, again, March 18th is today. March 31st is your fight. We know you're prepared for it. I know there's been a lot of talk about, you know, what you were. And I think if you look on the websites, on the internet, there's a lot of talk that's going on, you know, some favorable. And, you know, to be completely frank and honest with you, a lot of it is not favorable as opposed to what is favorable. So, you know, but in either case, people are still talking about you. So, you know, that means something. That means people still know of you and have heard of you. And, you know, whether they like you or not, I guess it's anybody's prerogative. What do you have to say to those people that just refuse to say anything good about you?
Dude, it's such a complicated question and it's such a complicated answer to give. A lot of people, see, I don't know how these people view me as a person, as a fighter. Usually people judge a fighter off the way they fight. Oh, I think he's an ass. Why? Well, because of this. But you don't know that person. You don't know that person personally. Don't judge the person right off the bat. I'll tell you this. You can be training all your life, 25 years, for that 15 minutes of that fame that you're supposed to have for a title fight or whatever you're doing. And a fat guy sitting at home might be flipping through the channels within 3 to 5 seconds. He can judge who you are, what you did, and how it did, just like this. But it took you 22, 25 years to get to that point, and you can be judged with less than 10 seconds. Whoever talks brash about me or says stuff about me, listen, They can say and do whatever they want. It doesn't really matter for me. At the time being, I try to do what I can as a person and as a fighter to have people like me and, you know, respect for who I am and what I've done for the sport. I'm an Armenian guy. You know, I was brought up in the States. I born in my country. I lived in my country. I lived in Russia. I came to the States about 25 years ago. Sorry. And people will always talk crap. I can care less, man. I raise a flag for my country, for my race. At the same time, you know, I respect where I live. I live in the most powerful country in the world and one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant sport I am in. So if I'm able to put myself in that situation as far as in the country, in the sport, and did what I did, hey, you know, it's a big deal, I think. People have to understand that I've put so much work and effort into it. So don't judge me right off the bat what kind of a person I am. Spend 1 hour with me and then judge me. I mean, you shouldn't judge anybody, but have your outlook as what kind of a person that I am. I can bring thousands of people here that'll tell, oh my God, we love him. Another thousand, we hate Karo. I don't know. I can't make everybody happy. When I was 17, 18, if somebody looked at me the wrong way, I'd be like, oh God, what happened? Why does he doesn't like me, this person doesn't like me, it would kill me. These days, no, I can care less. So, you know, to a point I care, to a point, I'm sorry, I can't make everybody happy. If you're going to talk brash about me, just be careful, don't do it around me.
I hear you, Karo. Well, Karo, just want to wish you good luck for your upcoming fight, and I want to make sure you come back and give us a recap of how that fight went, hopefully with a victory.
God willing, victory. I want to come back with a good victory. Hopefully I can sit in the same seat here, you know, thank my fans like I always have, and thank HyeFighters, you know, the only website out there that represents Armenian fighters, and I think it's amazing, it's great. Aras is, you know, the man that's behind it. He's a great guy, and he does what he has to do for us Armenian fighters, and it means a lot. So, God bless everybody. Thanks for your support, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, Karo. Appreciate your time, buddy.
Thank you.